This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Dewar. Brought to you by Con Communications. This is KHQA. It's your news now.
And this is Saturday, August 24th, where it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all back to Overtime. You know, vacations are great. It's nice to get away in the summer and decompress a little bit. But I'd be lying to you fine people if I told you I didn't miss this gig the last 2 months. These impossibly brutal Saturdays when the workday starts before 6 a.m. and ends near midnight and are an adrenaline rush like nothing else. And I appreciate you all spending a little bit of your Saturday with us. The goal on this particular Saturday is pretty simple. Get you up to speed for all the sports wildness ahead. And we still have plenty of football to address before Friday night's opening kickoffs. But there's a world of softball, soccer, cross-country, and volleyball fun all about to tip off as well. Not to mention golf, which courtesy of the Quincy High boys may afford the Tri-States its best chance at a state championship trophy later this school year in any sport. We take you to the Quincy Invitational, where it will always be the Don Sloan in my mind, and this guy, ZKP, Zach Coleman Pfeiffer, off to a great start in this one. Hole number 3 over the water on his second shot, and it is a dandy. The approach, pretty nifty now. ZKP with a tricky putt for birdie. He would skirt the lip, come back the other direction, put it home for par. He would birdie 3 of the next 4 holes, take a 70 on the day, 1 under par, good for second place. His teammate Zach Burry on number 3 for par. Difficult putt. He is going to make this fall, though. Beautiful recovery and save after being in a spot of bother over the back of the green. Not a good place to be on this particular hole. Burry on the day with a 72. He was good. How about this? Bouncing back as well on number 6, the par 5 with his birdie after he 4-jacked for bogey on number 5. So that was quite a recovery with the flat stick. He ends up taking 3rd place on the day with 72. Colby Rodemick good as well on number 3. Great stiff chip right there to get that ball up. Finished with the 73. Good for 3rd place. Quincy Notre Dame also playing very well in this event. Drew Eaton with a great day today on number 10 right there to secure himself a 74 on the day. Also the beautiful approach on number 11. But he was not the biggest story for the Raiders today. Oh no, the biggest story of all turns out to be Mr. Devin Hobbs, who turns out to be your medalist today. Just blew the course apart today. A 65 today, 6 strokes under par, 5 strokes better than everybody else. Congratulations, Devin Hobbs. You are the man today. But the team honors go to your crosstown rivals, the Quincy Blue Devils, who end up firing a 375 to win by 9 strokes. Quincy High now opens the season 2 for 2 with wins, and they're going to compile a lot of them. Doug Bruner's team absolutely loaded. We'll talk more about them coming up next week. Let's do some football now. We take you to Southeast Iowa scrimmage day today. Central Lee and Keokuk going at it. One last dress rehearsal before Friday, and Central Lee off to the good start in this one. Oh, what a good-looking quarterback this Garrett Holtkamp is. Sophomore, great athlete, can run it. And look at this, can throw it as well. Finding Fett Connor right here with a beautiful strike. And all of a sudden, after stopping Keokuk 3 and out early and getting the early touchdown, all the momentum went the Hawks' way. However, here comes the defense for the Chiefs trying to turn things back around. Alex Meek starts it. Patrick Marlin in on here. The Keokuk defense responding big. And then Keokuk's offense awakens behind this guy. He will tote the water this season. That is big old Dakota Shaw, and he's doing some big old things. Got 6 straight carries on this drive. Big pickups on all of them. Only one of them less than 10 yards as he tore apart the Central Lee defense single-handedly and would end up scoring right here. End up tying the score at 6 apiece as both teams would miss their PATs. Keokuk's defense trying to tighten as well. More from the defense on the defensive edge. Cole Hinton, big rangy fella, going to get his hands on Garrett Holtkamp and get the sack. Both teams had a pair of touchdowns today. No blood in this contest. Both teams had really good-looking moments, so we'll keep an eye out on the best of Southeast Iowa. Don't forget Fort Madison in that mix as well in the coming days, as we're looking forward to the start of the season. Meanwhile today, at the Parish Jamboree, Northeast Missouri's finest going at it. Todd Cripes, North Shelby Raiders, riding one of the longest losing streaks in Missouri, but they're going to be much better this season. Just 17 starters back. Jacob Rich right here with a great pass to Andy Killen. That would set up the big fella. John Arnett, one of the best running backs in the entire area. This is probably a touchdown. He did not get the benefit of the doubt. He had 2 touchdowns earlier, 3 on the day. Didn't get this one. Should have been his 4th, so that sets this up. Mr. Rich to the air, and TJ Perry from 3 yards away going to come up with the pretty catch right there in the back of the end zone against Paris. Meanwhile, Speaking of Paris, boy, the Paris passing game was good today. Kyle Popkis right here with the pop to Brendan Hancock. Over the shoulder catch, textbook stuff. Beautiful touchdown for him. Sal Shelby also in this affair today, playing very short-handed today. No Trace Windsor, down about 4 starters. Kenny Smithy, the Monroe City transfer, stepping in and looking good. Then Brett Threckeld going to the air right here, going to hook up with Josh Ridgely, going to get the big pickup. Unfortunately, Sal Shelby couldn't score on this one. Sal Shelby, though, with the nice pickup here. And again, playing a little short staff. So those 3 teams looking good. Westran, though, the best team out of the 4 today, playing as constructed, as you'd probably expect going in. So nice showing there. And with that, my friends, we reach the point where we're going to talk a little high school football. I'll get to that in a second. First, I want to mention a college note to you today. You know what? News out of Western Illinois. The opener comes Thursday, and the transfer from Cincinnati, Trenton Norville, will be the starter for the Leathernecks in that game. As that was announced today via a press release. So Trenton Norville beats the 2 incumbents, and he'll end up getting the start. Now let's move on and talk a little high school football. The 2013 preseason is officially wrapped up at this point. Time for us to do this thing for real. We weigh in with our first power poll of the year, a little sneak preview of Duerisms for you, and our take on the top 12 teams in our area, starting right here. Number 12, tough spot, trying to decide between Knox County, which is very talented, and Quincy High, which plays an incredibly difficult schedule. Here's the thing we like about Quincy High an awful lot going forward. Their defense has championship DNA. Offense has some question marks to answer with the offensive line, but their defense has been incredibly impressive this summer. They get the 12 spot. Quincy Notre Dame, a bit of a wild card, but when do Bill Cannell teams not produce? They're at the 11 spot. Sal Shelby, Clark County, who looked really good, into the top 10, in our opinion. Going forward, you've got the 2 WIVC traditional powers, both with some questions to answer in terms of leadership. Didn't have a lot of seniors back on one front side for Triopia. Brown County had some struggles last year and some growing pains. Want to see how those 2 teams respond. I've got Palmyra ahead of Centralia in the Clarence Cannon Conference this season. I think Palmyra is the most talented team in that conference, but you still got to beat Earl Bennett, and you got to do it in week 2 of the season, so that should be incredibly interesting. Centralia has some questions about the quarterback spot going into the season as far as eligibility, so we'll see where that shakes out going forward as well. Here's your top 4. Hannibal, incredibly loaded, and then 3 teams who I think have championship DNA in Western Illinois. It starts with Illini West, who's just fast in the offensive backfield and really good on the offensive line. Jacksonville's absolutely loaded. Again, the Crimsons play the toughest schedule of any team in our area, and that is probably the one check mark against them. But if Mark Brown's team is ever going to win the Central State 8, this seems to be the year. And I've got Camp Point Central. Last team standing last year is the #1 team this year. In my opinion, it all boils down to the fact that that offensive line is incredibly experienced. There's still plenty of speed back, and they've got 6 to 7 linebackers who could play for anybody. So we're looking at Camp Point Central, not really going out on a huge limb, but they are, in our opinion, the best chance to title the season. Let's move on to the college ranks now, where this time last year, Culver Stockton head coach Jeff Duvendek not happy with his Wildcat offense. Today, a much better showing out of that crew in the scrimmage today, and it started with Curtis Widener hooking up right here with Will Cone. Big pickup right there. That sets up the field goal by Eric Zamudio, who knocked it in from 23 yards out. He had 3 field goals on the day. More from the offense this time. Terrence Brooks with a big pickup off the nice catch. That would set up Tyree Gordon, lowering the shoulders and getting in for the score. This is a special scoring system, but the offense compiling points for all sorts of big pickups, first downs. Defense really didn't have a great day, but Devin Wilson right there with a huge highlight tackle for loss. Got his squad 2 points in the blue and white showdown. Check out Terrence Brooks. A wow moment on this one, another big catch. That would set up another passing touchdown, this time to Nick Still. The Culver Stockton offense wins today by the final count of 55-11. That is great news for Jeff Duvendek, who wanted to see some production going forward, and his team certainly showed it today. And we've got plenty more coming up when we come back. We continue the talk about Tri-State High School football, listing for you the top individual talents we'll take to the Friday Night Lights next week. Hey, can you run one more script for me and then you can be gone? Just this first one, this Malik Robbins one. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that right now. Float it. Hey, float that to C block. Not you.
You're watching KHQA Overtime with Chris Dewar. Brought to you by Con Communications.
And welcome back to Overtime, everybody, where we, as promised now, reveal and make the case for our 2013 Preseason Football Player of the Year. Obviously, credentials matter here, and our honoree this year carries a wide range of all-conference plaudits and a returning 1,000-yard rushing credit to his resume as well. But it is simply there that this justification starts, not ends. This is also a young man who sets a very clear leadership tone for his team, especially with his actions and his unselfishness, which was clearly evident when we asked Quincy High fullback Malik Robbins why it's so vitally important for him to help his team end its playoff drought this fall.
Most importantly, because some of these guys will never play football again, and that's huge. I know if I couldn't play football again, I didn't get to my main goal in 4 years, it'd be tough. So for me, it's huge for the family that I've been here. I've been with Coach Little for 4 years. He gave me the great opportunity. So yeah, I want to go out with a bang.
I've never come across in my coaching tenure a player like him. Number one, I've never had a 4-year starter, from start to finish. Led us in scoring the first 3 years, and I'm sure there's going to be some competition in the backfield, and but I'm sure that he's going to be a leading candidate potentially to do that again this year. Just the way he's carried himself throughout this whole thing, I don't think you'll find too many high school kids that would carry themselves with the type of demeanor that he does. I think that's really what makes him, amongst many other things, successful. And people ask me all the time, what's the good thing about this year and the bad thing? And I tell them that, the bad thing is that Malik Robbins is a senior. The good thing is he's got 3 years of starting experience, underneath his belt. So a tremendous player, kid, and teammate, and a guy that I'm not going to miss yet because we're going to have another great year with him.
You obviously look at him, and his skill set is what it is, but there's a grittiness to him, and I think I saw it first when he was a sophomore, when he came out here and throwing blocks like he means it. There's nothing he kind of halfways on the football field.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Robbins is a football player, true definition of that. He's not just a ball carrier. He's, like you said, he'll do the dirty work. He'll make the blocks. He'll make the huge blocks. He'll play defense. He'll return kicks. I mean, he is the old-time throwback. His skills are much better than that, but he's a guy that certainly could play in any era, and just a tremendous talent and football player. And like I said, the way he carries himself every day, that business-like approach, really helps him, throughout that process.
Will you be disappointed if he's not an all-state type player this year?
I will. We've had other all-state players here, and he's as good, if not better, than those, and that's a big statement to make. I think, obviously Malik knows this, and he's always been this guy. A lot of that type of all-state honors depends on team success, and I know I feel like we got a pretty good team this year. I know Malik's going to have a huge part of that, but is he an all-state football player? There's no doubt in my mind. His body of work, but you can just take this season. I'll be confident if he stays healthy that the numbers will fall where they might. That certainly he's got the potential to be that type of player.
Let's take a look at the rest of the top 10. We lead it off with the outstanding defensive back, over 100 tackles last season, Elijah Harrison at Hannibal High School, an all-stater who's moving to quarterback. Blake Hance, the signee for Northwestern from Jacksonville, number 2 on our list. A couple of really good running backs. In fact, I think Jacob Trump, as a junior, might be the best player in the entire Clarence Cannon Conference. Trace Windsor, the leading rusher in our area from last season. Gabe Meganson, the outstanding junior-to-be offensive lineman with Division I offers all over the place, is our number 1 offensive lineman on the board, followed by a couple of really good wide receivers. Jordan Chappell there, obviously from Quincy Notre Dame, also a stellar defensive back. Mitch Nichols, also a big runner last season, over 1,100 yards in his conference. Top quarterback on our list is Brock Butler. Another offensive lineman and defensive end cracks in Emma Stone from Macomb, the Arizona transfer who looked so good last season and has looked great this preseason. And maybe a name many of you haven't heard of, Ethan Peterson out of West Prairie, a team that hasn't won in the last couple of years. But this kid, as you can tell, might be the Tri-State's best-kept football secret.
A lot of these kids, they kind of look up to the older kids, the captains. it's a big deal for them to see us stepping up and being men on the field.
As you said, he is a key leader, and he's a leader, and as good a leader as he is a player. Ethan does wonders for our offense because he gives us option.
Chance to make some plays up here. I mean, that's got to be fun for you, and I know the offense is going to go a little bit more in your direction, trying to find places and times to get the ball to you in space.
I'm really excited about that. I want the ball. I want everybody to be confident in me because I'm confident with my line, confident with my running backs and quarterback.
A true triple option team wants to run the ball 85, 95% of the time. When you have a receiver on the end that is capable of being an all-state caliber player, you might want to bring that percentage down. And Ethan's going to give us the flexibility to pass whenever we want to. He's been talented since his sophomore year. He was a starter on varsity as a sophomore. He flourished last year, the first half of the season, had about 20 passes, 5 touchdowns in the first few games. We really saw a dip in his numbers when we made the quarterback change and brought the freshman in to get reps. But it was nothing to do with Ethan. It was game planning and a freshman quarterback. He's had a great summer. We attended about half a dozen 7-on-7s. And even though we're a running-based team and we've just practiced our play-action passing game, Ethan was borderline dominant. There was not a team that shut him down. He performed really well. So we think he's going to have a big year, and we think he's going to be one of the focal points of our offense.
And a name to keep an eye on, and a kid who could be incredibly special as the season drains on. Let's talk a little golf today. Congratulations to Ryan Buxman out at Arrowhead Heights in Camp Point. His 4th career ace today. That seems ridiculous. That's like a glut. Share some with the rest of us. Buxman on number 17 today with a 9-iron for that 4th career ace. And we'll have more overtime for you coming up after this.